My name's Seth Godin. I write a blog. I've started a couple internet companies and I've written 12 books. The most recent one is called Linchpin. Well, art has been around for a really long time. Music has been around for a really long time. Painting and sculpture and plays have been around for a really long time. But it's only in the last 50 years that there's been an industry, right? They call it the music industry, the movie industry. That's new. And those guys are in really big trouble. But art isn't in big trouble. Music isn't in big trouble. Writing isn't in big trouble. They're doing better than ever. There are more people listening to more music now than ever before. The people who are under stress are the industry people. They're the ones who act as gatekeepers, who keep profits, who do the marketing, who add the surface skim to it. We're not sure as a population we need those people. And what I believe is that the screaming and the crying we're hearing is coming from the industry, not from the artists. It used to be that you didn't become an artist to become rich. You became an artist because you had an idea to share, because you had an emotion to share. And that's where we're heading again. And we're going to see more people do more art in more ways than ever before. And my argument is that we're broadening the definition of art. I think you can be an artist when you answer the telephone. I think a psychologist can be an artist. I think a politician can be an artist if they're meeting certain requirements of what makes it art. And one of them is not that you have a contract from a music business. What makes it art is it's a gift, meaning it's a generous act that you're not doing just to make a profit. Two, that it's new, original to you, that it's real, right? So this first person who installed a urinal in a Dadaist art museum, Duchamp, was an artist. The second guy who did it was a plumber, right? So that's the second thing, is it has to be original. And the third thing is it has to make a change in the person you're presenting your work to. And that kind of art we're now seeing in so many different places. And that means that just about anyone has the opportunity, if they want to stand up and do art without permission for some guy in a fancy suit. Well, it's bad news in a couple ways. The problem that you have if you're a creator today is there are very few boundaries. If there are no gatekeepers to please, no gallery owners to please, no what do they call those guys? A&R guys in the music business to please, then who are you going to please? If you can go straight to the market whenever you want to, how do you know when it's done? If you don't get paid for your art in cash for a really long time, how much do you care? Are you willing to do it for a really long time, even if there isn't an advance? Who are you going to blame when it doesn't work? We all know musicians and writers and painters who blame the system for their obscurity. They say, I have 3 novels in this drawer, and if only someone had published them. We just called your bluff. Press one button, it's published. And if no one reads it, whose fault is that? It's yours. And it also means that if you're creating any kind of art, you have to market it. So all of a sudden, the artist can't say, it's the Boone Gallery's fault that no one's buying my painting. They have to say, it's my fault that no one's seeing my painting. It's my fault that I don't have a group of people who are cheering me on. And if we look at someone like Shepard Fairey, who's a visual artist, Shepard is the most famous fine artist of the century. How did he do that? Did he do it with gallery representation? No, he did it by getting arrested, putting wallpaper paste up, and putting it on the walls of the city, giving the art away and getting arrested while doing it. That's how he got the word out. But now he makes a fortune because his art is something that means something to people and they've heard of it. The idea spreads, he wins. You either have to become a marketer or a partner with one, because the act of marketing is twofold. One, making an idea that will spread. That's the artist's job. And two, the mechanics of spreading that idea. And it used to be that Hemingway would mail in his novel to Scribner's and they would publish it and do everything so he could go get drunk and bullfight. But you don't get to do that anymore. The number of writers who get to do that is close to 0. The number of painters who get to do that, the number of poets, the number of receptionists, the number of product designers is close to 0. So it's good for Jonathan Ive industrial designer who found Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs is his marketing agent, and that's a great partnership. Steve couldn't live without Jonathan. Jonathan couldn't live without Steve. You need to find someone like that, but it's not going to be someone in the, quote, industry, because there is no industry. It's dead. It's easier and harder to get an audience at the same time. So if the audience you want is Oprah-sized, it's really hard, because the list of people who want to be on Oprah keeps getting longer. That kind of audience would be great if you can get it, but you can't get it, so get over it. It's trivially easy to get 100 people to read your blog. It's trivially easy to have 1,000 people follow you on Twitter. So the challenge is to take that easy foot in the door and then say something that spreads. And that's the key. The art is about doing work that people choose to talk about. Now, with an Eigenlabs Pico harp or Pro Tools or a simple musical instrument, you can make a record album. You don't even need a musical instrument. You can just remix music. Now, with a $300 video camera, you can make a movie that might play in theaters like that horror film Sony released. What we see over and over and over again is a different kind of person is able to become an artist. And so there's going to be this huge surplus of stuff created that's easy art, and it won't work because with that much to choose from, we'll just walk away. But difficult art, art that really challenges the status quo, art that changes us, that's going to be scarce. And it's not going to be scarce because of talent. It's going to be scarce because of guts. The number of people who have the guts to do work that hasn't been done before, that means that the market will find those people, because that's what we seek out when we seek out art. We don't seek out the banal or the trivial. We seek out something that touches us, that makes a change happen. So if you're an artist, then the challenge for you is to decide who you're trying to change. If your goal is to touch as many people as possible, better be prepared to be pretty trivial. If your goal is to touch just a few people and change them dramatically, better pick the right people. If your goal is to make money, better find people who are used to paying money for art. Because if not, you're just going to be judging yourself on other people's standards, and you're never going to achieve what it is you're seeking. And it's really fascinating to watch people shift from a lifetime of consumption of media to starting to produce media. And they're not very good at it yet. Most of the media that's getting produced, most of the comments on blogs, most of the tweets, they're inane because we're practicing. We're not good at it yet. When we look at the iPad, for example, or the iPhone, most of the stuff that people are doing with it was created by amateurs. So what we're going to see is the quality of amateur work continue to increase because there are so many people competing to do a good job with it. And the amateurs are going to keep getting better at what they do until the point where there is no industry, where it's just amateurs getting paid. There's no doubt in my mind that we're going to look back and say this was the golden age, the opportunity. This was the time that people set themselves up to be really happy with everything they built 10 years from now. That when we look back at the history of every other industry that got built in the 1920s and 30s, we say, we wish we were there then because, wow, wouldn't it have been cool what we could have done? This is even bigger than that. And most people are ignoring it, saying, oh, there's a recession, blah, blah, blah. This is the best shot you've ever got.